Okay, at this time, I'll call to order the meeting of Monday, June 27th. I ask that all have not signed in, please do so. Please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices, and please conduct any private conversations in the hallway or outside. Emergency exits can be found to your right and to your left. And at this time, if you please join the town board in a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, a couple announcements before we get into public hearing. This time I wish to declare necessarily absent this evening Councilman Condon. Recognize that we have 6 employees celebrating birthdays in the month of July, starting this coming Saturday with Susie Mandrino, Kurt Dillman on the 17th, John DeCook on the 18th, Eric Link on the 20th, Rich O'Donnell on the 28th, and Mr. Bill Brown on the 29th. In addition, just want to let everyone know, and for those on listening in via YouTube, that all town facilities will be closed Monday, July 4th. This time, we'll ask our town clerk to please read the public hearing notice.
A notice for the public hearing for the proposed local law to amend Chapter 180 Streets and Sidewalks, scheduled for the 27th day of June at 7 p.m. in the Victor Town Hall, was published in the Daily Messenger newspaper on June 12, 2022, and posted at the Victor Village Hall. Please take further notice that a draft local law has been introduced to the town board on May 23, 2022. A copy of the said proposed local law is on file in the town clerk's office for inspection during regular business hours.
Thank you, Karen. At this time, I'd ask if there's any members of the public that care to speak for or against this proposed amendment to local law, Chapter 180, Streets and Sidewalks. Again, I'll ask if there's any members of the public care to speak for or against this proposed amendment. Susie, do you have anyone? No? Okay, the only thing I would add, I did speak to Kim Kinsella today, and the codes department. The intention would be, if we do pass this, it's to send letters out to neighborhoods that have a network of sidewalks, and then in addition, also let them know and let the public know right now that, on weekends, if there's occurrences, we'll take it up on Monday, where we don't have a staff that works 7 days a week, and we're not going to become the sidewalk police on weekends, and so we'll do it in a fashion that we usually do. Take it up on Monday if we hear a complaint over the weekend. So at this time, I'll close the public hearing, return to regular. Yep. And I guess the only thing I would have added was that we'll take action for your consideration to next town board meeting. You need a motion on the public?
Yes.
Okay, my apologies, we need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting minutes. For your consideration, we have a May 23rd town board meeting, and then the June 13th pay bills meeting for your consideration. If you have no objections to taking them as a block, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, manifest.
Manifest number 12 for 2022 in the amount of $390,449.77 has been reviewed by the Victor Town Board with the following accounts charged: general townwide, general outside village, highway townwide, the lighting districts of Fishers, Brookwood Meadows, High Point, Cobblestone, Coil Ridge, Rolling Meadows, Stone Lay, and Legacy at the Fairways, and S&S Consolidated Sewer Fund.
Thank you, Karen. Suzie, thank you for putting that up on the screen. So we'll start with the first payment is to pay B&M International for the rent for our courts for the month of July. Next is Bluestone Creek Development, July Parks and Rec facility rent. Payment to Colachino Industries for the Pump Station 13. Reimbursement to Farmington. Payment to Hometown Energy for unleaded fuel. Next is Lane Enterprise drainage pipe for the highway department. Payment to MVP, July healthcare, employees and retirees. New York State Comptroller, and these are the court fines January through May. They they're usually invoices monthly, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, here we are. We had 5 months worth, so that's why it's much larger than what you're used to seeing. Next is payment to RG&E for the May and June utility charges. Payment to Southworth Milton cat loader for the highway facility. Suitcoat Corp. crack filling, and Tracy Equipment highway truck repairs. Total of the above-mentioned expenditures is $339,848.86. Town expenditures minus these previous mentioned expenditures equals $50,600.91. Town board members, any question on this evening's abstract? Entertain a motion to approve the payments thereof.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's no request for privilege of the floor this evening. Moving to public comments and concerns. Suzie, do you have anyone on YouTube? No, okay. And anyone in the public? Yeah. That would be you, sir. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, moving to reports of town officials. Your first report is the Director of Finance. Giving you an update where we are, where we stand. Next is the town historian's report. Report from the highway facility with a breakdown of both highway and recycling. Next is IT, followed by the Victor Local Development Corporation, Parks and Recreation. I know, Brian, you pointed it out in your memo, but want to, as always, thank the Garden Club for their continued investment in flowers and beautification of the town. And I'll let the clerk go, and then I have just a couple things.
Board members, in your mailbox, I think you've found a liquor license for the Old Plebwell Grill that's supposed to open up at Eastview. Does anybody have any objections to that?
No objections.
No objections.
I also wanted to mention the resolution that's coming up. There's amendment to Resolution 16 for the fairways. There's 2 letters of credit on that property, and the original letter of credit, the release, when the engineer broke it down, was coming out of only one of the letters of credit. And then in looking at everything, it needed to be broken down, and Keith helped me with that, and Mary Stubling. So we've got it right now. It's where it should be, so that's why that amendment's in there. Also, I just wanted to mention, and Brian, I'm sure you're aware of it, tomorrow is Election Day for the primary. And a couple years ago, we changed the election polling place for District 7 and 8. It used to be, what's that, Rose Garden or on East Victor Road. It used to be there. And then 7 used to be here at the town hall upstairs. Well, they combined the two and put them at the Victor Municipal Park, and I didn't realize Steve had a program going, never even thought about it, so at least we're praying it's going to be good weather, so he said he could do his program outside tomorrow. Yeah, and, but moving forward, I'll try to remember that. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay,
We
that's
hope
it.
the voters like children. Thank you, Karen. Real quick, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Brian as well and your department for your participation in the Memorial Day Parade. I think certainly the turnout certainly brought us all back to pre-pandemic events and times. Civic Park, I want to thank Councilman Kohovic. It's certainly nothing to look at right now, but a lot of work has been done, and I know Director of Finance and I, we chuckle whenever I've had conversations with the village government about this, because they're quick to say pay it out of the A fund, but I will tell you, I think it's been in our best interest that they're doing a lot of the work. Our highway superintendent, I don't know if you've seen the Director of Public Works recently, but I think he's keeping his distance from me. He's afraid I'll ask him to do something again, and so I don't think he may never take one of my phone calls again. So recently, I did meet with Farmington Victor Ambulance regarding a budget preparation. Rich and I met with them, and we're going to continue that as well moving forward. A couple weeks ago, actually beginning of June, I had the opportunity to go to Victor Central School and meet with 2 third-grade classes, and they had prepared a number of questions, but a young lady in one class and a young man in the other class asked a question that really kind of tugged at my heart, and they said, Mr. Marin, are we safe here in this school? So it was something that we as students, when we went to school, we didn't have to worry about our children, but now this next generation has to worry about their safety. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I had the good fortune to participate with Assemblyman Gallahan back on the, the 8th of June at they presented Eastview Mall with the New York State Historical Preservation. They are now on the Preservation Business Registry for their 50 years. So that was exciting. I took a number of our Wellness Committee members over to the town of Penfield. They had a Penfield Wellness Fair, and I had attended last year, and I wanted to get the exposure to our Wellness Committee, and they've certainly some new ideas they're coming up with as well. I want to also commend Councilman Drew Cusimano for his efforts as Lieutenant Cusimano, and this has to do with a life-saving award ceremony. Chief Chapman was the MC. This was at the Legacy back on June 9th, and there were a number of departments, individuals within the Fishers Fire District that were recognized for their efforts, members of the Sheriff's Department, 911, and also staff at Legacy coming to the aid of an individual who was choking. And it was captured on a body camera by one of the deputies, and then the 911 call, and Councilman Cusimano worked on that with 911 and the Sheriff's Department, and they were able to put that up on the screen. And for those, this room was jam-packed with residents, and a number of those residents had used to dine on a regular basis with this individual. This individual did live through this situation, but is no longer a resident up at the Legacy. But it was very compelling when you heard 911 and knowing, it's one thing to watch it on TV, but when that's an individual that they had a relationship, and we know our town clerk has gone through this as well. So, again, Lieutenant Cusimano, well done, sir. And then numerous handouts should have been at your seat as well. And then one of them was a letter from Chief Chapman regarding a task force. I did, last week at the Fishers Fire District meeting, I did let the Board of Commissioners know and Chief Chapman that I would be, represent the town on that task force as well. And then I just throw this date out at you. There's a open house, a grand opening for the medical spa at Victor on the left-hand side. It's right after the Mancini property where the grocery store was at one point. So this will be on July 12th. Ribbon cutting around 5:30 that night. Unfortunately, there's an open house from 1 to 7 with the ribbon cutting at 5:30. And unfortunately, I have another event in Canandaigua. So I am going to go to the open house, stop by during the day. But if any one of you could attend the ribbon cutting at 5:30, representing the town of Victor, I would be forever grateful. And that's all I have. Good. Our town clerk will be there. Board members, you care to report? And I think Councilman Cusimano is going to bring an update to the board on something that he's been working on.
Absolutely, and I would say two things just quick I'll note before, just so I don't forget. Brian, I had a resident stop me and tell me that the flowers and everything that we do around town look fantastic, and they think it's a huge addition to the town. So if you could pass that along to the folks that take care of those, that would be wonderful. And I just wanted to mention and recognize the village trustee and chairman of the cemetery committee, Bob Kelly, for his efforts to coordinate and carry out the reenactment that they did at the cemetery in the village here, behind Village Hall on May 7th. It sounds like they had a nice weather day for it, and they had a lot of fun doing that event, so I just wanted to recognize him. So when it comes to the Climb Aboard Victor Festival, so Climb Aboard Victor is the event name that we have selected. I've been working with Kathy and Gina on this. And at this point, we've met with Eastview Mall a few times, and we're at a good point as far as the agreements with them, working through the liability of the event and how we'll handle that. Being a town event, having several different exhibitors, both public and private from around town. But the gist or the general concept of the event is to have an interactive experience that is a display of large trucks, construction, fire, police, EMS, but then antique vehicles, antique trucks, antique fire trucks, and all kinds of different specialty vehicles that service the area of Victor, whether they're a public entity or a private organization within the town. And then as well, we would have vendors, and just to note to the specifics of the event, it's nothing for sale, there's nothing for profit, there is no cost to attend, but the exhibitors or the vendor booths that would come without a vehicle would be entirely representatives from, the Parks and Rec could set something up, or various town organizations, village organizations, or not-for-profit organizations that do good things around town. So, for example, the Kiwanis Club, the Lions Club, et cetera. So, certainly we have a long working list that we're reaching out to this week. The Boy Scouts and various different organizations that might like just to be present to maybe host a kids game or activity and get the word about the organization out. So at this point, I believe Gina and Kathy, and Gina's spearheading the coordination of the flyers and sending out the exhibitor solicitations this week, but we're targeting around 30 or 40 different entities that we've kind of hand-selected from the perspective of varying the types of vehicles and types of displays that we would have. So hopefully we're excited that the opportunity to have a Black Hawk helicopter from the National Guard. That's currently pending in their chain of command, but certainly we'll have some military vehicles on hand, as well as many different kinds of vehicles. Any questions?
Yeah, Drew, do I get to drive the fire truck?
There's applications for volunteering at both firehouses.
No, that's not what I asked. That was not my question.
So all of the vehicles, so it will be a static display just because of the risks of somebody being injured. So everything will be stationary, but
So are you saying I'll be injured or someone will be injured by me?
well, it's a
Let
good
it go.
question.
All right.
But no, so it'll be a static display, but really to go along with the core theme of it being an interactive experience and also a learning experience that's fun. And I'll give you an example because we just worked with our colleagues over at Victor Farmington Ambulance, and I was tremendously pleased with their response to our solicitation, which was, we kind of had sent out, this is our wish list, this is what we would like to see, and they came back with really one-upping it. So I'll give you just a quick example of what the booth for the ambulance would look like, because that will emulate across all the different service organizations there. So the ambulance will be bringing one dedicated ambulance to the event out of service with a crew, and then along with that, their training department will set up a booth, and then they also brought some colleagues from Strong Hospital that come out with an ambulance and another vehicle that do outreach and community education. So when you walk through the ambulance display, kids, families will walk through the ambulance. There'll be someone there to kind of show you what it is, show you the cabinet, show you the equipment, and then as maybe you come out the backside, the power gurneys that they use, it's all battery powered. Kids will be able to lower the gurney and then lift the legs and push the stretcher in. They come out the back of the ambulance, and then there'll be a station where they get to learn how to control bleeding. So Strong will have set up a Stop the Bleed campaign, so they'll get to learn how to stop bleeding. They'll get to see some of the equipment in action. So the heart monitor and all of the various types of equipment will be kind of attached to a mannequin and active, so they'll get to kind of get an explanation of what this machine does and how it works. And then they'll have a couple other type training activities, for example, community CPR. So the hands-only CPR, there'll be someone designated to that station. So, certainly not for the 3 to 4-year-olds, but, a 10-year-old, 12-year-old high school kids will get to do hands-only CPR and learn that skill. So across all of the different exhibitors that we plan to have, we're certainly going to try to cater various activities for the 2 to 5 age, the 5 to 10, and then the older kids and families. So, I think that exemplifies for the ambulance what it will look like across the other vendors. I know the fire department, we're looking at having, rather than a big fire hose, which obviously would be hazardous and kids wouldn't be able to handle that, have, a garden hose simulating a fire hose, and then a training simulation prop where they get to put out, little fires, like on a hinged flap, so where they're pointing through windows, and then there'll be fire extinguisher training where we do a live fire controlled by a propane tank, where you're using an actual fire extinguisher trainer to learn how to put out a fire with a fire extinguisher. So all kinds of interactive and fun activities, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. So far, very well received.
Good. Questions for Councilman? Okay.
And Ed, if you don't get to drive the fire truck, they are looking for volunteers to hook the paddles up to for the defibrillator.
Yeah, that's a hard no.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Okay, moving to the resolutions.
Jack, before we get off that one,
Yeah, sure.
one thing real quick from the Town Planning Board. We've had several discussions over the last few meetings regarding access management. One of the questions that they have come up with as they look at various projects is, as we did access management, we created these distances between openings from, let's say, a residential development to the road, and how many there would be and how far apart they should be. And their question was, do we need to look at that maybe differently by functional classification of what the roadway is compared to what the residential use is? So I bring that to the board, something we can talk about. I'll mention it to Wes when I see him next, just to take a look at that. Because I think what they're seeing is, in certain instances, you don't have physical distances enough to make that distance that's required. So then we start going through, get a waiver or something from the zoning board of appeals or whatever to go through all these projects because they just don't fit. So the question, the planning board said, well, is there something else we can do with this? So that was what they brought up. I told them I'd bring it up to the board. I'll mention it to Wes, so he can take a look at that, but just so you guys know, so.
In some cases, we're creating another step for an applicant.
Yeah. And
also that
they're also
the
having trouble
inability-
functionally making it work.
Yeah.
Because if you have two developments side by side, and if it's close enough, and each one has an entrance or an exit, whatever, that the distance that we require from an access management, it's not physically able to be that distance. So now they got to go through this process of, wait a minute, you don't fit the requirement, what are we going to do differently, and how do we make that work? And in some cases, it's two separate developers, two separate projects coming onto the same road, but the access management, we can't make it fit. So I know what we're trying to do with access management. I understand the concept. It's good. But again, some of the distances just aren't physically working out. So further discussions needed, just so you guys know. We'll be talking about that.
Stevie, do you pass that on to, I'm sure Wes is at those planning board meetings, but also maybe Lorenzo as well? Thank you. Any other comments before we go to resolutions? Starting the resolution from the Highway Department.
So moved. Evaluate the speed. I got it. I jumped the gun. Sorry, Jack.
It's all right, no.
Second, and I would add a note there that, while I'm not optimistic on that I spend a lot of time sitting in that section of High Street.
Yeah.
And the traffic along that section is, if I lived along there, I would be very upset about it.
Yeah, if you really think about it, a motorist turns off of Route 96, and how fast can you go? It's, you got the Beer Project on your right, the High Street Extension on your left, then there's a signal light, then your fire department. So hopefully they'll see our side as well, so. All those in favor? Aye. Next is the accepting the retirement of Renee McConnell from the town clerk's office. Board wishes to thank Renee for all the best in her new adventures and thank her for years of dedicated service to both the employees and the residents of the town.
So moved with a comment. I had an opportunity to stop down the day before she retired, her final day, and they had a nice little event for her. I think it was very well received by Renee. I think she was moved and touched by it, that people were stopping in to see her. So Karen, you and your staff did a great job of sending her off the right way.
No, I would echo that. I think, and Karen knows her well enough that she's not one to have a party and everyone focus on her. So where it was just kind of business as usual, the clerk's department's open, residents are stopping in, but then others are stopping in to say hello and thank you. So, well said, thank you.
Second.
Yes. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
She'll
This
be
is
missed.
Number 3, authorization to extend the existing professional engineering services agreement with LaBelle Associates, and this would run for 2 years until April 26, 2024. Steve, I do want to thank you for having conversations with board members, various board members. Appreciate that very much. There is I can tell you there is a slight increase in the rates, but based on increases, I think it's well worth it, and I would strongly recommend the adoption of this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is number 4, IT surplus equipment declaration, complete with photos as well. And as you can see, if you've been down in the basement, there's quite a few down there.
So moved.
Second. Nice job, Susie.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 5 is the authorization
Hey,
of the.
Jack?
Yes,
Can we block 5 through 12, which all relate to Brian, Parks and Rec, and different things that they're going to have scheduled throughout the summer?
any objection to blocking resolutions 5 through 12?
None.
No.
Okay, so,
I'll make the motion then.
okay, do we have a second?
Second. Oh, sorry, Mike.
Second.
Okay, I have just one comment. I do like very much, Brian, in your first resolution, the signs, and I know you've had them in the past, but keep right and announce passing. I know this what gets myself, I spend half my time looking over my shoulder when I'm walking these trails, so thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, resolutions 5 through 12 have been passed. Okay, number 13, request for certificate of liability insurance, and again, you have the 3 vendors identified here in this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Number 14, authorization for the purchase, and there's a revised draft at your place setting. And if you have the original one with you, you'll see that there's a second whereas, or excuse me, a fourth whereas added. So the new one is whereas the trail motor equipment operator sought pricing and availability of said equipment from various sources. And then the last resolve has a number of additional individuals named where a copy of the resolution should be forwarded to. So, any questions? Okay, hearing none, a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
From the town clerk's office, appointment of registrar of vital statistics, naming Kim Reese to be appointed as deputy registrar of vital statistics, effective June 27, 2022 through December 31st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 16, amendment to the resolution number 176, letter of credit Fairways Phase 3, Release 1, and this is the resolution that town clerk spoke of during her report. Any questions?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution is passed. Moving to number 17, license and hold harmless agreement, 6746 Canterbury Trail, to allow encroachment into utility easements. And I want to thank both our highway superintendent and Keith as well, both of you, for walking and taking a look at this to make sure you are supportive of this action.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 18, accepting the letter of credit for Southgate Hills Phase 11. And again, this is the estimate from the town engineer. This, okay,
Moved.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
And number 19, letter of credit, Piper Meadows subdivision, release number 10. Yeah, you should have had one at your place setting. Recommendation, $31,945 be released. This is release number 10. It remains $510,588.96 in the letter of credit, if you so choose to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution is approved. Public comment. Susie, do you have anyone with you? Dave, thank you again for your attendance. Motion to adjourn this meeting then.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
These were Dave's.